Welcome back to Rebound with Resilience, a podcast dedicated to raise your resilience, mindset, and mental wellness. On this episode, we are joined by Brooke Lim, also commonly known as Sugar Rest. She's perhaps one of the most well-known youth in Singapore, right? She has close to 200k followers on TikTok and also is adored, I would say, by many other youth. But I guess beyond that, what I do really appreciate about her is her compassion and heart for other people, especially youth, right? Even during her A-levels, she was still going the extra mile for people, answering DMs, sending out resources. Is something that I cannot imagine myself doing when I was stressed about my own A's. So honestly, that is what really inspired me and stood out to me. And today I'm very happy to have her on the show. So yeah, thanks Brooke, for coming on.
Thanks for the invite as well. I really appreciate it.
Sure. How have you been? Congrats on finishing your A's and also your recent podcast.
Thank you. It's been good. A lot of time to just, relax, sleep in, do the things I want. What about you? How has your 2022 been?
Yeah, it's glorious so far. Yeah, I think I'm quite fortunate. 2021 was a tough year, but also pretty good. Yeah, and I mean, back then we were still pretty busy, but I'm glad we were able to do this. Yeah, I'm so curious though, like, you just started your podcast, right? And you're really on the top of the charts.
Yeah.
Right? I am high key. I'm not even gonna hide it. I'm high key jealous because I've been doing this for a while. But the kind of influence you have, how does that make you feel though, knowing that
people are listening to my podcast? Yeah. Wow, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of overwhelming, right? Like people want to listen to what I have to say. They like what I have to say, and I really like the podcast because, it's just my voice, nothing to do with my face. And I know that they're not listening to me just because of my face, actually listening because they like what I have to say. And, it just feels very humbling and also very flattering that people are interested in what I have to say. Like, I never assumed that, my opinion would actually be something people want to hear about, because I'm just another random girl, I'm 18, I don't even have a driver's license, I'm not even in university, stuff like that. So it's just really fun because I really like talking. I feel like I have a lot of things to say. Sometimes my friends get tired of me just talking nonstop.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, really, because I listened to the first two episodes as well, like before, and definitely some of the insights were quite interesting, like social media, for example. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that also, like, Gen Z and social media. And of course, before we get into it, appreciate the trust, right? Looking forward to learning from you. I think you're one of the youngest guests I have on the podcast. I work with youth quite a bit, but, have a youth on the podcast to speak about concerns, I think will really relate to the audience and also help me to help other people better. So yeah, I'm looking forward.
Thank you. Also looking forward.
So we are going to talk about just growing up, like your influences, maybe a bit about ambition, mental health, how you balance that, and then finally about social media, quite a big part of your life. Yeah, but before that, just a warm-up question. I know on your Insta profile you put there, supporting others unapologetically. I thought that was, an interesting motto to live by. I'm just curious, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to support unapologetically? Yes.
Motto per se, and this is actually the first time anyone has actually asked me what exactly I mean by that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought somebody else would have asked you before.
No, I don't think anyone actually notices what I actually put in my bio. Like, I used to just have my school name and bio, and I thought people actually cared more about that. Then I realized people were just treating me like this girl from Raffles, and I wanted to divorce my whole identity from my JC, so just took it off, and I just put something more. Something that will actually stick by me because I already graduated. I'm no longer a Raffles kid, just, supporting others unapologetically. I think the word you're more intrigued by is unapologetically, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would I have to be sorry for supporting other people? I feel like because helping other people just really shouldn't be something you're sorry about. Okay. It feels like I sometimes get a lot of flack for it. So that's just my way of saying. Yeah,
really, I'm so curious. You get flack for supporting other people.
Yeah, people are saying that, oh my gosh, she's fake. And if people actually want to be kind to other people, they're not going to talk about it on social media. So, she's just putting out a facade, she's faking it, things like that. So not very savory comments. But then again, I've come to realize that people if you get enough attention, there will be like this probability. There's always like, we learn in math stats probability, right? So the more you do, the less. How do I put it? I'm sorry, Mr. Paul, I've forgotten everything about math. Yeah, but there's always this probability that you'll get hate. So it's proportionate. Okay.
Yeah, definitely going to discuss that a little bit more. Yeah, I'm sure initially when you started your content, not just for supporting other people. I mean, I'm so curious because when you talk about yourself, you get inverted commas hate. When you support other people, you also get. So like, what do you want to do, right? Because in both ways, you also get people talking about it.
So So there's just like pleasing some people. So really just need to please yourself and the people actually matter.
Okay. Great. Yeah. And I guess that answers the question also, right? Like, why do you want to do that? Because, I think we've chatted briefly in the last talking about how you felt that if someone was in your position, if someone, you were kind of like in their position back when you were a youth. So if someone had reached out to you back then, offer some insight, some encouragement, that would have meant a lot. I think that's one of your motivators as well, to support other people. And you said a large part of your audience are actually females, you mentioned, right?
Younger girls. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. I guess we can go before I'm done in the warm. Now we can go into the questions.
Okay.
Growing up, right? Like, how were you like as a student? I'm curious. Were you really so ambitious? So
how was I as a student? Yeah. Okay, depends on in Sec 1. How was I doing in Sec 1? In Sec 1, I just joined RGS. I was still like fresh out of primary school, and I think we were learning about like lowest common multiple, highest common factor, things like that.
Okay. Sure. I vaguely remember it.
So what was I like then? I think I was just very confused, very new to the whole school, and I was also very, very excited. Like, new school, RGS, just all these opportunities. I think I tried out for a lot of things, and I didn't get into a lot of things. But as a kid, I just didn't care about rejection. I just picked myself up, that I wouldn't think too much about it. So that is, and was I ambitious? I guess as ambitious as a 13-year-old kid could get, because back in secondary school, like even Sec 4 seemed really, really far away. And so I guess my ambitions, they were limited, but to me, I still thought they were lofty. Like, I wanted to go into this CCA. I wanted to do this. I wanted to be like my CCA seniors, because I would go to CCA because I was from a math and science club. Then everyone there was just so smart. And I thought they were like the smartest people ever, and they'll just give lectures and I'll just kind of like fawn over them because they were so fluent and well spoken.
Sure, just like little role models here and there, like get influenced by them, just like how people get influenced by you now. But it's interesting, right? Someone like that. Do you really have like kind of a small ambition back then? I'm going to be some like this sports person, musician, I don't know, influencer, probably not, for sure.
I think back in secondary school, I just wanted to be popular. Like, not like those, in like those American high school, then you have like that mean girl who's popular. Like, no, not like that. I wanted to be the kind of popular where I could like walk into any school event and I could like, hey bro, what's up? I know you. Then, I just wanted to people to have a good impression of me. That was my idea of popular back then. And I wanted teachers to like me. I wanted seniors to see potential in me, stuff like that.
Okay. Was influence and leadership already something that you prioritize? Or
influence and leadership?
Yeah, influence,
like
leadership.
Specific leadership positions in school?
Yeah. Just influence in general. Like you mentioned, being well-known, being your voice having an impact in other people.
Actually, no. Because like back in secondary school, I just didn't think that deeply,
Okay.
Also times when I was just focusing like, I just wanted to end school and go home.
Sure.
Yeah. To be fair, I was trying. Maybe I wasn't trying hard enough, or maybe I wasn't efficient enough. That's really all I can remember from secondary one, lower sec, basically.
What do you struggle most with, like in secondary school?
In secondary school, wow. I guess I struggle a lot with what like people thought of me, and also with my priorities, because I didn't have because I knew what my priorities should have been like school, my friendship, stuff like that. But I guess even though I knew that school should be my number one priority, I didn't know how to treat it as a priority. I didn't have like a really efficient study method that worked for me. I didn't have tuition. I didn't actively seek out consults with my teachers. I just thought I could, just sit at home and just whack everything.
Okay.
So back then I didn't really know how to study. And when I got a bad grade, then I'll feel demoralized. Then I'll rely on like bursts of motivations. But bursts of motivations aren't enough. You need to be consistent.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So really is more of the study side. In terms of like insecurities wise, like was there like, okay, I'm comparing with other people, feeling like not as good, especially in RGS where people there, like you said, right, they're brilliant in their own ways. Like, was there ever that thing that, I'm not good enough? Because a lot of youth kind of face that.
Yes, really, just all the time, especially when it comes to grades. RGS had this thing where, every time they release your score for like a test or project online, then they also put the median. So there'll be the maximum score, your score, and the median. And whenever my score is lower than the median, I'll just think, oh my gosh, half the batch is doing better than me.
It's just overly pressurizing you like that. I wonder.
I don't know, I guess, but it's a good benchmark.
Okay, yeah.
It's a good benchmark if you're doing well. Yeah. Okay. Depends on the student, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's still there, right? I mean, class positions, everything. I'm not sure whether they removed it. I think they might have made some tweaks, right, to reduce the pressure. But by and large, I think that comparison thing, that stratification is still always there. Anyways, I guess more on that, on how to manage that later.
Yeah.
But
did you have like the honor rolls back in JC too?
Yeah.
Like every exam, then they just show. Oh, they removed it like a few years before mine. Yeah, then I was sad because I actually did one in JC to see where I stood in comparison. So,
but that's a minor point, right? Because actually stress is necessary for growth, right? Like, without stress, there's no growth. But at the same time, beyond a certain stress, it becomes distress. And I think that line is pretty fine. So I guess it's hard to know where everybody's threshold of stress is. And so they just decide, just take everything away. Yeah. Do they still have the countdowns too? The countdowns to A-levels like on the board?
Oh yeah, we had one in my class. We also had a motivational quote.
What was it? I'm curious, what was it? Which class were you in, by the way?
I was in like 5A, like because I was in a hybrid class then, so there was only 5A, no like 5B or C.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was SO3K. I was not K. It was A to Z or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, so BCME.
No, I did English language and linguistics.
Oh.
Because I just wanted to be different. It was a horrible choice. It was horrible. It was like the math of English. It was tough. Yeah, so I did that, bio, chem, as well as math.
Very interesting
I knew you did
combination.
the mix, right?
Yeah, like hybrid. Two humans, two arts.
Right. Yeah, it seems to me actually we have kind of like similar personalities as well, right? A bit of arts, a bit of like that advocacy part of you. I'm just curious, are you by any chance, I feel that you're an introvert, even though you put yourself out a lot on social. I feel like the energy is very introverted energy. Probably.
How can you tell?
Oh, it's just from the way you speak, the eye contact, general mannerism. Even for me, people think that when I speak in front of a crowd or I'm outspoken, right, I'm an extrovert, which is fine because I'm putting on a kind of persona I need to present. But when you're at home by yourself, you kind of draw energy from being alone.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? And probably, okay, you know the MBTI thing? Yeah. If I were to guess, probably INF. Yeah, cannot be J. I think probably INFP.
Yeah.
NFP, yeah.
What do those letters stand for? I'm still.
Oh, you still don't know? Yeah, N stands for intuition. T stands for thinking. I think P stands for perception. Something like that. So basically, you live in kind of an imaginary world where you think a lot, you dream a lot, there's a lot of stories in your mind. That's kind of characteristic of INFP.
Okay, very interesting. I will check it out. Yeah, for the longest time, I didn't understand. There's so many. I'll just.
There's 16 different combinations. But the thing is, as you probably know, right? It's the criticism of it is that, we can't be just confined to fixed variables, right? They're always so much more than just a personality type. But I guess it does gain some self-awareness for students. Or even if you're listening to this, right, as a youth, I think it'd be great. It's a free test, right? Just go on the website, MBTI website, check it out. You can read through it, see if it applies to you. What are some career paths possibly? Yeah, but that's where it ends. I think life goes way beyond just a personality test. So anyways, pardon me for talking too much. I know today's about you.
Don't worry
okay.
about it. Yeah?
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the
Okay.
questions again. So yeah, I mean on that actually, right, on INFP and everything, how do you become, because those person types usually are more feeling, they're more sensitive. But apart from your personality persuasion, right, is there any other influences that led you to be so compassionate, so loving? Was it influenced in any way by anybody, your parents
I mean,
around?
well, I guess like when I understand the question, like I mean, it just kind of gives a suggestion that I'm more compassionate and loving than other people.
That's the underlying assumption.
I don't.
If you think it's a fair assumption, if you don't, then yeah, maybe we
I think I'm just like the same as like a regular human being. Like I try to help people. I know everyone helps people. I know that that's what I have to do. I find fulfillment in that. But that's kind of the case for everyone, I guess. And I think the only difference between me and other people is that because I'm so open online, so I'm more vocal about it. I show more of what I do online.
Yep.
So yeah.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. I would say also that two things. Number one is that we are so used to inverted commas, backstabbing, or people saying not so nice stuff that almost being nice becomes abnormal, which is a sad thing because being nice should be the normal.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that even for example, when I was in our school, right, there was still, and I think not just our school, but across the board, this scarcity mentality, right? That for me to win, someone else has to lose. There's that bell curve thing, right? And because of that, people don't always openly help other people because they are concerned about themselves, protecting themselves. So I think that's where my question stemmed from, in a way. Do you notice that though in school?
In school, scarcity and abundance. I think because RI has a huge batch, like 1,200 people per year.
Yeah.
And I don't mix with everyone. I only mix with like a small circle of friends. And I've been very lucky with my friends. So they're very sweet, very compassionate. They're always willing to share. So it just fosters this very healthy environment for me. But definitely it's not the case for everyone. I've just been lucky enough to avoid much of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, last thing on your influences, I think before we move on to mental health and vision. Okay, this is really interesting. Your love for learning. You mentioned that you read 17 books a month.
Yeah.
I do not know how is that possible, even especially while taking your A's. I don't think I read
after
17 books.
After A's, yes.
After A's. I don't think I read 17 books in my lifetime, let alone in a month. So, why? How do you develop your love for reading? Actually?
I mean, reading, because I wanted to get off my phone, suddenly I had all this free time and I had nothing better to do. And I had all these books that I wanted to read that I wasn't able to during like exam season. So I just read. And I only read books I was interested in. Like any book that I find interesting. I won't read a book just because like it seems fancy. Like I'll probably never read like Crime and Punishment. So I only read books I'm interested in. I'm not ashamed to read like cliche like romance fantasies. Those they are like escapes. They're so fun. And I read stuff that kind of helps me. I read a lot of self-help books, like things that I can actually apply in my real life. Basically things that fascinate me, When you read things that you genuinely enjoy, it just feels more like a treat. It doesn't feel like a chore.
I like that. A treat versus a chore. I never heard anyone use that juxtaposition before. I think I might borrow that from now on. What's your favorite? You talk about self-help, right? I guess I do read pretty much a lot of self-help, but is there any genre that in particular?
Genre?
Yeah, or any author that you enjoy in self-help realm?
Well, definitely like James Clear. Atomic Habits helped a lot last year for school. Just, really just getting my life together, getting everything together on track for A's. And that was really helpful, especially because A's, I had a lot of things on my plate. I needed every bit of help I could get. Yeah, then now I'm just reading this book called The Happiness Project. So it's about this woman who spends a whole year just trying to be happy. It's very wholesome. I can't relate to everything, but yeah.
I have it there.
Oh, you have it? The Happiness Project?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a couple of other stuff as well. It's cool. Yeah, we can talk about it offline as well. But yeah, definitely. I just asked you this question because I feel that reading is super underrated. More youth should definitely check out some books in their free time read beyond their textbook. I think that's what I feel. I guess you can agree or disagree with that, but that's, I guess, one of the things that led you to your empathy, to your awareness. I looked at your Instagram, the way you answer questions. I was quite blown away, actually. I'm not saying this just to flatter you, because I genuinely look at your answers and I think like there's a lot of maturity of thought there. I think there's one particular person asking about advising a friend, right? For, I think, someone else in a relationship with someone way older or something like that. And I would even for me, I might give an answer to something like, okay, maybe advise her out of it or something like that. But the way you answered was like, it gave me a different perspective. I think you said something like, it's her decision and it's not in your position to tell her what to do. And, you can give her some advice, but I suggest you don't, live her life, something like that. I can't exactly remember. Yeah, but.
I read a lot of those, like agony advice columns. So there's just me living out my own childhood dream of becoming an agony. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you give good advice, I would say. Okay, let's move on to now the balance between ambition, mental health, and maybe some study tips for students. Okay. I think it's super relatable, right, to majority of students. We have this national narrative that, no grades, no future. There's a pressure to compete, to compare, to create, right? To work. If they're not creating, they almost feel like they have no worth. So I guess from your content, I can tell that you are fairly ambitious. Is that a fair assumption?
I would like to hope so.
Okay. Yeah, the content you put out and the work that you put in. Let's talk about ambition first before we talk about the downside. Like what is the value you feel of ambition? What is the joy that you've gotten?
Ambition?
Waking up every day at 6 o'clock.
I mean,
doing
waking
a lot of
up
things before 12.
Well, that is just like fulfillment, gives you a direction. It's like direction, and it's something that really drives you. It's not you're just waking up every day to just get by another day in school. You feel like you haven't accomplished anything. You feel like you're just living for the sake of it. But when you have like ambition, then you need passions for ambitions. You have to be ambitious about something that you actually care about. Yeah. And I feel like it just feels like it adds so much more meaning to life. And it's something that is largely self-directed, right? You don't always have to rely on other people to fulfill your own ambitions. Like, yeah, they can help, but most of it, like the owners of it, is just really lies on you.
Okay. So that autonomy is something that you treasure, that self-efficacy is something that, I think that's one aspect of resilience, even a research perspective, right? It's actually your degree of efficacy and how much you believe that your actions matter. That really impacts a lot. Now, I think it's quite sad to see that in a lot of places that I do work in or speak in, it's almost as if they've given up. They feel that they have no efficacy, that whatever they do doesn't matter. Yeah. And, it's just like, okay, just learn helplessness. You learn to be helpless. You feel that in JC especially, that's something that people can fall into. JC is difficult.
Yeah, like that sense of hopelessness, right? Like, am I just doing this for the sake of an A-level result that might not even be very good?
Yeah, and for example, continuing to not do well in studies, like, maybe getting straight B's, F's, all the way to like, I was reading some Reddit post, someone that mentioned that A's was coming, but she just cannot improve her score throughout JC.
I mean, a lot of people feel that way, but I feel like within my circle, I have like different circles of friends, right? And there are people who do well, people who don't necessarily do well, and it can kind of tell from their work ethic. But within my own circle of friends, they're all very driven, they're very ambitious. Right. When they get a bad grade, like we all get bad grades, but they know how to fix it. They don't necessarily know how to fix it, but they know they have to fix it. Okay. So that's something I really admire about my friends.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's move on to talk about the downsides of ambition, expectation. With ambition comes attachment, right? And you can kind of argue that attachment leads to suffering because there's a gap, right? Every ideal is a judge. What has been the biggest downside, possibly, to your ambition?
Ambition, really just disappointment, because you measure yourself according to your ambitions, your goals, and whether you achieve them. And when you don't, it just feels like you have failed at, just being a human being, because you've tied so much of your your self-worth to your, say, for example, your grades, your academic performance, things like that. That can just really mess with your whole perception of your self-worth.
Okay. Mental health wise, was it like, were you able to manage it during your JC times? Was it ups and downs?
Mental health. Okay, my mental health was really tied a lot to my grades. A lot of my self-worth was tied to my grades. So I guess that wasn't very healthy, but it wasn't healthy if I didn't manage it well, but it was healthy stress if I could. But there were times when I got like, I didn't do so well. I got like 2 Bs in one exam, and then I went to the school counselor crying. But she was very helpful. She was lovely. It was an amazing visit. Really put a lot of things into perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Well, could we talk about that if you don't mind? I feel a lot of people also find it afraid to seek help. Right, the fact that you can be so open about say, hey, I'm just gonna go to the counselor to cry. I think not many people can do that, let alone speak about that. Do you think that's important?
Of course it's important, but really all I can say is that it's not as scary as it is. And it's free. It's not like you have to go to like somewhere outside and pay like a few $100s for a session. And it's free and it's helpful. Feels very homely. Counselors are great. The counselors are paid to help. It's their job and they actually know how to help. So, I mean, if you're a student, it's a free resource. Go take advantage of it. And most likely, a student will need it given any point in school, especially in JC.
Yeah, I'm glad that you talk about it. I'm sure you do in your TikTok videos as well. When I was in JC as well, a very strong stigma against visiting. I think maybe it's a guy thing, I don't know. But I just had a very strong stigma. In fact, I kind of subconsciously judged people who went to the counselor. I was like, why do you need to go there? It's almost as if you're weaker compared to other people. The irony was that, I struggled with my A's. I had mental health issues, and I eventually had to go and seek a counselor during and after my A's. Yeah, and she's retired already. She's retired. It's the same. I think it's the same office, right? But probably a different person because she retired already. But she was a very pleasant, probably similar to how you describe it. Just a very pleasant lady. I remember. She didn't judge me. She's very open about it. And it really helped. So yeah, definitely encourage you all to look beyond the stigma and seek help like you need to. Okay, great. Okay, you talked about managing earlier. I'm just curious, like, what are some habits that you have that has helped you really in your resilience, in your mental health?
Like in JC?
Yeah, in general as a student.
I feel like a lot of the habits that people have really brought up before, like nothing new, really just maintaining a healthy sleeping schedule. It's totally possible to go to sleep early, wake up early. You don't have to sacrifice sleep in JC if you manage your time well. And really like eliminating distractions. I don't game. I don't have any games on my phone. I've never been a gaming kind of person. Notice that it can take up a lot of time. I don't even have like a gaming laptop. I just don't game. So that might have helped me a lot. And really just recognizing the things that set my energy, like social media. So sometimes I just delete apps. I might deactivate my account if it gets too much. Really just to focus on school and just keep my headspace okay. And also to avoid drama, friendship or relationship drama. I think JC is stressful enough about having to worry about your friends.
Right.
So I basically, my friends, they were all very mature. If we had any misunderstandings were bringing out, there was very little miscommunication.
Sure.
So in many areas, that just made life a lot easier for me, and I could really just focus on school. But I think in a lot of aspects, I'm also very lucky. Like at home, I didn't have every family has their own set of issues to deal with, but my parents are very mature. They don't like bring my sister and I like they just don't drag us into anything. They settle any conflict themselves. So yeah, and my house is generally very quiet. We all like the quiet.
I mean, that's nice. That's an introvert's dream, right? Just a quiet space for you to work. You talk about journaling quite a bit. I thought I'd ask you about it. Right? How has that helped you? I personally feel, I'm going to share my bias, right, that I feel journaling should be taught as a module in every school. But I guess, I think it will help a lot of people, honestly. But I guess I'll hear from you first.
Journaling. Well, journaling is really just, you know how I saw online once that, someone said that when you feel like you're overthinking, just write it down. Because when you're writing things down, you can only focus on one sentence at the time, right? So that just kind of clears my mind a lot, because in JC, when you're stressed, you have all these commitments to get to, you really need that bit of headspace.
Yeah.
And journaling can take up so many forms. Like you journal, you write about your feelings, you write about your to-do list, you write about your goals, and you can also like keep a prayer journal. So sometimes when I feel like my head is too cluttered to actually just pray without writing things down, I just like journal, keep a prayer journal, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think people listening to this, right? There are a couple of stuff like gratitude journaling, like reflective journaling as well, like thinking about what they can improve, or like what Brooke mentioned about just expressive journaling, just writing down your thoughts. I mean, research has shown that it really does help to clear your clutter, your headspace, help you gain awareness also. So yeah, just wanted to talk about that. Of course, your habits that is very openly put on TikTok. So if you're not following, I think most of them listening to this will be listening because of you. But for the maybe 10 of you that are listening for me, you can go and follow Brooke on TikTok. I think she puts a lot of tips there on her own life. But one thing I want to ask you about, right? You speak about this, is the growth mindset. Right? What is it to you actually? Because you mentioned it. What does it mean to you personally?
Growth mindset.
And how do you develop it?
I know what a growth mindset isn't, and it's just everything I don't want to be. Like I don't want to be like narrow-minded. I don't want to like be stubborn and thinking that I'm always right, into making assumptions about other people and not giving them a chance to prove that they're wrong.
Okay.
Just really thinking that I know everything, my way is always going to work, and if I fail, it's not my fault. It's like, I don't know, someone else's fault that I failed, and that's very, very, very rarely the case.
Okay, and how has that helped you, like, as a growth mindset? How can one develop a growth mindset as a student?
Can one develop a growth mindset? Okay, I'm still developing mine. Sometimes I can still be very, very narrow-minded. But, I don't really just help me with realizing that I am human and I make a lot of mistakes. And because of that, I'm definitely going to be far from perfect. And I'm never going to be like well-rounded or just, be good at everything I do. So one is really just humbling myself and then just reading more, talking to a lot of different people and just saying yes more often, the different opportunities. Like last time I would like say, no, I don't want to hang out, I just want to go home and study, things like that. Or like, I don't want to like sign up for this extracurricular or this talk because I just want to go home and study. So that kind of forced me into a little bubble and I wasn't really doing much. So I also found that I was more unhappy then. Yeah,
that's great insight. I think, or rather the fixed mindset is characterized by the fact that every failure is a threat to your ego, right? Right, your success is just tied to the outcome. So every single potential failure is something you avoid completely. And the fact that you mentioned that you put yourself out there with the intent, not really with the intention, but with the possibility that you're going to fail, but you still go out there and do it. I think that exemplifies a growth mindset. Yeah, it's something people should definitely strive to look at. It does help a lot. Okay, last thing with this segment is about common stressors I guess students face. I know you receive a lot of DMs. You also have a Telegram channel where you support others. What are some common stressors you observe in students nowadays?
Academic pressure, that one definitely. Okay. I get a lot of DMs just asking for like study tips, how to cope with this, how to cope with that, how to study for English, lit, math, physics, stuff like that. Yeah, but the thing is like study tips, they're like, I put it, everyone studies differently, so what works for me isn't going to work for anyone else. So what I can really give is, just really general advice, things that you might be able to find online. So I don't know, that's something I also want to work on, like how to tailor study tips according to each kid. And I guess, I'm tutoring a lot of kids, so that's a really good place for me to begin.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Context always matters more than content, right? People just take content at face value, but they realize that they are not Brooke, they are not me. You cannot just take it and put it directly to you because your life is different, your personality is different. If you try and copy someone else, you just be a second class someone else, right? And you want to strive to be the first class you want to strive to create your own habits around principles. So yeah, I guess even then, with regards to just academics itself, I'm just a student and I struggle with academics. Like, what is some top line general principles that you would give them? Probably.
all they say is like, oh, I'm struggling academically. Well, number one is I'll actually ask a lot of questions like, why do you think you're struggling? You know, what have you done to kind of elevate that pressure? Like, when you find out you're struggling, the first thing you should do shouldn't actually be like to DM a random stranger on the internet.
No, but they look up to you though. That's the reason. The reason why they DM you is because they feel that.
Oh, so I am your first line of help, is it?
Maybe.
Well, that is a lot of pressure. Honestly, I would tell you to go talk to your teachers and your parents first, your classmates maybe. And because what I really can then give you, because to be fair, like your teachers and your parents are going to be much more mature than me. Like maybe you might not take them as seriously, but what they can give will really be of much more help than me. Yeah. Maybe just like actually very general study advice is to be consistent, do work when it's given, don't let the deadlines pile up, revise consistently, but also be disciplined enough to know when to take a break.
Yeah, the balance between striving and just chilling, right? It's kind of hard to find that balance. Mind if I talk about it a little bit, if you don't mind, about how growth is a mix of gratitude and demand, right? You cannot just be continually demanding yourself to do more, and then you have this sense of self-hatred or this sense of self-loathing that I'm not good enough. It always has to be balanced with giving yourself a pat on the back by honoring yourself for how far you come, having gratitude for where you are currently. And that mix of gratitude and demand is what usually drives growth. So I think you find that balance pretty well. And I think other people can definitely learn and also in their own way find that balance. I know it's not easy though. Yeah. Okay, I want to talk to you about this. This one is a bias of mine. Okay, because sometimes they always have problems with their relationship. Okay, but then they get into a relationship when they're young, and I'm talking about romantic relationship.
Like romantic, okay.
Romantic relationship. Okay, and then my kind of bias advice would be you're still young. You don't need to be in a relationship. Work on yourself first and everything. But I think when I looked at obviously the relationship you have with your boyfriend, how adorable both of you are. For lack of a better word, how you support each other. I think it kind of changed my paradigm a little bit that hey, you can actually be in a healthy relationship even when you're younger. How do you manage that actually?
How do I manage that? I mean, it definitely wasn't all like on roses and just all that cute stuff, because we got together pretty young. And sometimes I ask myself like, should I really have gotten together from so young? I think most of us.
When is it?
Oh, actually in like Sec 4. Middle of Sec 4. So she's still very, very young. Like I had just turned 16. And then back then, I think both of us, we didn't exactly know what a relationship entailed. Like we both had like this very idealistic perception of a relationship. I think what worked for us was that like we didn't really care that much. So we weren't like obsessive. We had our whole lives apart from each other. So we were just kind of like complements to each other. So when we actually did have like friction all that, we could just resolve it quite easily because we like, not that our communication skills were top tier, but we just didn't care enough to have actual full-blown fights. So we kind of just like sailed it out, then got to JC. Then JC I just focused a lot on school. Like my relationship was definitely not a top priority. I thought, JC is just 2 years relationship. It's supposed to last until for like marriage. So after that, we'll have all the time to spend together. So our priorities were really always school. So I guess that was what worked for us. How a relationship should work like a Venn diagram. Like you have the both of us, then you just have a small overlap, and that should be the relationship. You should have your whole lives outside of the relationship, right?
Good advice. Yeah, I think some people make somebody the entire world, right? That's very dangerous because when something happens, you also get affected. When something happens here, you get affected, and then everything is mixed up.
So you should have like a whole support system outside of your romantic partner, right? But the thing is, for a lot of kids, like maybe they're a lot more idealistic. Maybe they think that your relationship should be the one thing to complete your life. They should like bend over backwards for their partner. If your partner doesn't like act this way, doesn't act like this couple in a movie does, then it's not perfect. Or like in K-dramas, stuff like that. And I guess when you care so much, you overthink a lot. You notice every tiny detail. And like the thing about relationships, I feel like on the media, they kind of glorify a lot of things that shouldn't be glorified. You normalize things that shouldn't be normalized. And as a kid, you might internalize a lot of that.
And I guess you had to unpack that, right? You had the maturity to unpack all of that and say that that's actually a facade or that's a fantasy, and then I can build something with maturity But not many youth is able to do that. I'm just wondering, like, you just talked it out, or is just something you're both intuitively knew that this is something that I'm sure it's a very mature individual, very kind as well. Guess you have common values, which probably helped quite a bit. But is there anything else, I guess, that helped in a way?
That helped us.
Um,
We had strict parents, so we couldn't see each other very often. So,
Okay.
when we're together, then we'll just be like, I'm not going to see you for the end of 2 weeks. So, no point complaining, right? Let's just have fun.
Really?
Because we were from the
okay.
same school, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then even like in JC, we were like, he was all the way in the HP block.
Yeah, okay.
So, like long distance relationship.
It must have been nice though when you knew that you're going to go to the same school. Or was he from Raffles?
Yeah, from
Just
RI,
Raffles.
yeah.
Okay, so you all knew that. Okay, you probably knew that you're going to go to the same JC then. Okay, but yeah, I think that's another thing, right? I think some people you meet every day. I see them with their every single day. But anyway, it's your choices. Like, who am I to judge? I think the point is, I'm just trying to bring across to youth is that, like whatever you mentioned, whatever Brooke mentioned, I don't need to rephrase it because it's perfect the way you mentioned it. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the last thing. Insecurity. I think insecurity is something girls, even guys as well, they struggle with when they're growing up. Comparisons in all forms, social media, for example. In fact, some of them might look at you and feel insecure. Right? How do you advise them on any insights you can share with it?
When they look at me and feel insecure.
That and also general insecurity.
Really, just that social media is a highlight reel. People only show the good parts. People are also very insecure. That's why they only show the good parts, right? They don't want to be judged. They're scared that they might not be adequate. So they only post the nice stuff. They post nice pictures, their graduation, their boyfriend doing cute stuff for them. So, but the thing is, when it's a highlight reel, it still like distorts your whole perception of what real life should look like, and it just kind of get this impression that this is what a normal life should look like. But the thing is, what really helps me is just looking at someone's, like when I start stalking someone's page, I'll be like, hey, this is the best their life is. So reality can only go worse from there. So that's just a little reminder for me. Yeah.
The reality can only go worse from there. Wow. Okay. And unless they, of course, they put their struggles online, then maybe it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Most people just put their highlight reel. Okay. Yeah. How have you, like, last question, right, before we move on to social, it's how have you personally managed your insecurity? Especially now that you have, even more so now that you're kind of influencer and people are watching you. How do you personally manage your insecurity?
I guess when I was younger, I didn't know how to manage them. I didn't even think they were insecurities. I thought they were things I should actually be ashamed of, So I think the first step was really just self-awareness, realizing that, this is just an insecurity. It's not an imperfection. And the difference between an insecurity and an imperfection is that an insecurity can be fixed just by like changing the way you think. But an imperfection, you have to like physically change it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a lot easier to change the way you think about it than to actually change yourself physically. So recognize that it's an insecurity. And after that, really just there are a lot of resources online. And if you surround yourself with like the right people to follow yourself, like the right people to follow online, or like the right YouTube videos to watch, the right podcasts to listen to, that can just really change your whole like internet scape. Instead of just seeing like Instagram models, you are seeing like people who uplift other people. You're seeing people who tell you how to like manage your anxiety, or like just cute animals, very wholesome stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that you actually have that kind of power to change what you follow. Yes.
Use that for sure. I think it's one thing people take away. Use that power for sure. Yeah. Okay, that's a good transition actually to the last part on social media. A lot of people probably want to hear about this because you have power, right? For lack of a better word. Does it dawn on you sometimes, right? Do you wake up and go like, oh wow, I'm sugarless. I have such a big influence. How does it make you feel?
I don't know. I don't think I even know how much I have. I don't know whether like this perception I have of myself in my mind, whether it's like an exaggeration or like an underestimate. So I'm still not very sure. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I think, what if I put everyone who likes me into like a stadium? How many stadiums would that fill? I have no clue. Just really no clue.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. It might be quite a big stadium. But how do you keep grounded from there though? Because it must feel very.
Do I stay grounded?
Yeah, it must really for the lack of a better word, sometimes boost your esteem? Like how, because you seem like a very grounded person, at least from my perception.
Actually, the real question here would be like, why would I not be grounded? Because I feel like people like me because I don't try to portray myself as like someone completely out of their league. I try to be as real and authentic as possible. And I think that's what they like about me, like this element of relatability.
Okay.
So yeah.
No, the reason I ask is because I just wonder, like, does it, then get your head sometimes that like there are people praising you extensively, right? Online.
Get to my head. Well, it certainly messes with my head, but it doesn't like boost my ego. If anything, it just triggers a lot of imposter syndrome. That's something I've been struggling with. Like, okay, basically one of my coping mechanisms whenever I meet like a new demon is to make a podcast on it. That's my new coping mechanism. I read up a lot about it, then I will figure out my own experiences. Yeah, but sorry for digressing. But really just like imposter syndrome. Like these people, like, are they putting me on a pedestal? What do they like about me? Am I really as transparent as they say I am? Am I really who they say I am, And like what if they actually like knew me, like who I am in real life, and not just the person I put out on social media? Would they still like me? So this is a lot of the doubts I get. Yeah.
Okay. I guess let's talk about the beginning. When you started out, was it intentional? Like, did you see yourself having this influence, or was it just for fun?
No, it's really just for fun. So I wouldn't think much. I would just like see a fun trend, then I'll hop on it. Then I would then if it went viral, I'm like, wow, it's getting views. Then I'll just continue doing what I did. That was really about it.
And initially, I am aware that, or at least I noted that you might have received a bit of, for lack of a better word, hate comments maybe at the start. Yeah. Like I guess I don't know the content of it, but I presume it will be people saying they are showing off or something like that. Yeah, that's my perception. And how do you feel initially with that?
How did I feel? Okay, obviously, I was much younger then, but then I was like, like I would feel bad, like I would feel hurt. Then I would just remember that, these are anonymous accounts, and these are everyone gets similar hate. Like there are a lot of girls in Singapore who just like post TikToks for fun, right? A lot of them doing what I was doing like 1 year ago, and they also get a lot of hate. Like sometimes I just scroll through the comment section, then sometimes there are girls praising them, then sometimes they're just really like other comments just bashing her for her body, for her face, or really just the fact that she just put herself out there.
Right.
So I think, it's not just a me thing. It's nothing personal. It's just how toxic TikTok can be at times.
Okay. I wanted to ask about that also, like the toxicity and how you manage it. Before that, we discussed this earlier about people putting you on a pedestal. Like now that you have grown and whatever you post has an impact on other people, do you feel like a sense of responsibility that you have to live up to certain ideals?
Yeah, I guess I have to be more mindful about what I put out. I have to think twice. I have to ask myself, like, how would this be perceived? And sometimes before I post a TikTok that, like I thought might be fun, but might not be well received, I'll just send it to my friends. They're like, hey guys, I think I'm going to get cancelled for this. And they'll just laugh and give me their opinion. Most of the time, it'll just be like, if people want to really reach, then they will, but most of the time, they don't really care.
Okay. Can I talk a bit about toxic positivity a little bit? Because if people don't know you well enough, they might, misconstrue and say that, hey, you're promoting like, unrealistic standards, right? Waking up early, doing stuff. Like, how do you,
how do I deal with that?
Yeah.
Okay, when I was talking to a friend about this, she gave me this very good analogy. She likened like my study routines to like, I guess it's a bit of a stretch, but I thought it was accurate, like a marathoner's training program. Like it's what works for the marathoner. It might work for a certain group of other people, but it's definitely not for everyone. And the onus is on the watcher to be discerning enough and figure out like, hey, can I do this? Or, it's not, the responsibility isn't on the marathoner to like lie about his training schedule so that it'll be more accessible for regular people.
Got it. That's a fair point now. But I still do feel that you take extra effort to also let people know that this is your context and you're not perfect all the time. So people should kind of understand that, it's not just about promoting a full-blown hustle 24/7 thing. Right. And there was one thing I thought was interesting where I wanted to ask you, like, I mean, there are other accounts actually start up. I actually saw an account like just she posted just the fact that if she was in your position, like that girl, for example, she said like sugar rest, right? My life would be complete. That would be perfect. That everyone else would be appreciative of me. And I think you commented something in, and I'm not sure whether you remember that post that, hey, actually my life is not like that. It actually is not like the way it seems, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to me, my ideal lifestyle. And can you share a bit more about that?
Oh, I think that happened a couple of months back. And I don't know, I thought there was a bit of, how do I put it? I saw it, then I just didn't recognize myself, like the way she portrayed me. And I guess there was a lot of guilt involved. Like, hey, I just, I'm putting stuff out that I think is fun for me. That, is this what people think when they kind of just look at my account? Is this the kind of reaction I get from people? And that just kind of hurt me, right? I know I shouldn't be the one hurt, right? Like, she's hurt enough.
But your feelings are valid. Your feelings are valid because
so
that's not your intention.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just asking myself, like, should I take this like, is it a me problem or a her problem? Like, is it her fault that she tends to compare herself to me instead of viewing me as like a source of inspiration? Or is it my fault for like not being real enough, not like talking enough about my struggles? But the thing is, like, I try to, but those videos never tend to do well, So I mean, people seem to only like the videos of me doing well. Like, talking about how to read like 17 books in a month, how to study like 6 hours a day. Then my videos of me like about like how to get back on track after burnout, or like things I struggle with.
Wow, I didn't know. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so those just get like a few thousand views, then just nobody cares about them anymore.
That's so fascinating though. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just a hypothesis, but I guess maybe success draws us more, glamour draws us more than the downside. I guess it's a balance, but your point is very valid about that the onus is not always on the creator. It cannot always be like that. If not, it'll be impossible. You'll be so straitjacketed that you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right. But I do hope that the people listening to this know that, at least from what we have shared so far, that you present a different side, that they understand that it's not all that you see just a 15, 30 seconds TikTok video. There's a lot more than that, and I hope that you can take it in totality in a way. But thanks for being vulnerable though about that, about feeling that that actually hurt you a bit. Okay, I guess we can move on to talk about the last thing. I know it's almost time. I don't hold it back too long. I know you have a schedule probably. But we talk about impact on other people. What about the impact it has on yourself? What's the impact you have on yourself when you put out content? What have been some of the highs and the lows?
I think it's been largely very positive. Like, of course, there have been downsides, but I think the downsides, they're very minute. Like, the goods far outweighs the bad. So it just really forced me to grow up a lot. I guess I wouldn't have like all this pressure if I, just stayed low key, if I just like did the bare minimum to get by in school, then post on social media. Yeah. So it's been a lot of learning, talking to people, definitely, like the meeting new people part. I've met so many amazing people just because of social media. Some of them are amazing friends. I love them to bits. And yeah, I just really like the people element of social media,
Yeah, sure. I guess the lows, you probably talked at length about it, so I won't ask you to elaborate. You can go listen to that episode that Brooke did. But a little bit of that, right? The scrutiny and the salad video, which yeah.
Did you see that salad video?
I didn't notice it, but I noticed the comments saying that, hey, how come she put in something from before, fake news. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that? I mean, what do you
feel they have a fair? Do you feel that they have a fair point?
The fair point?
Or not fair point? I feel like, yeah.
I mean, like, I put myself out there, right? So people can just comment what they want about me, right? Like free society, freedom of speech. That doesn't necessarily make it right. I guess if you want to point out, like, oh, like, have I seen that video before, if you just phrase it like a nice question, and if you wanted to actually be helpful, you wouldn't do it on an anonymous account, right? And you wouldn't do it like publicly. You'll like text me on your main account and be like, hey, I noticed you used this video twice. Like, why'd you do that? And I've been more than happy to explain. But you know, the whole purpose, like it was anonymous. It was like this account designated just to slander me. So, you know, that just really says a lot about how genuine that was. You know, the whole intentions behind it. So.
Sure. I understand. Yeah. But I guess also it's scary, right? It's scary because like, every small thing you do will be kind of scrutinized. And they can even argue that like, oh, this is your day and this was not in your day and therefore like this should not be there, right? But I don't know. I mean, anyway, I agree with all your points about how you know it's okay to delete comments, protect your head space, you know, and overwhelmingly there are people that understand where you come from. So I think that's talked about enough. I don't really want to belabor the point. I guess the last thing is on your intention and purpose of social media. I would just love to ask you this 1 second last question. Yeah.
Okay. So
on intention and purpose, what's your purpose of using social media?
What is my purpose? No, that's
I know it's a huge. I know it's a huge.
Yeah. What is my purpose?
But
what is my purpose?
Intention. Yeah.
That's also something I'm asking myself. But I know that, you know, I just wanted to add value, like not just to my life, but to a lot of other people's life. And I want to do more than, absolutely nothing wrong with like posting just like dance or skincare or makeup videos. Those are so fun. I love those. But I feel like, you know, other people can do it way better than me. Other people have better skin, they have better makeup skills. And like that's saturated enough. You know, I'm not going to be able to bring anything new to that whole scene. Yeah. So I want to do something slightly different. I just want to talk more. I really like talking.
yes. That's why our podcast is doing well. I'm looking forward to whatever you put out. I think whatever you're doing it's just a real positive influence among the youth.
Thank you.
Right? And that's why I'm so glad to even be interacting with you as well by chance. Yeah.
Very glad to be interacting with you as well.
Welcome. Okay. Last thing is on a more, I won't say serious topic, but I guess something that is more debatable on woke culture, you know, like cancel culture and Gen Zs. You know, like nowadays users are becoming younger and there's this idea of cancel culture. What are your thoughts about that and how do you
thoughts on cancel culture?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like cancel culture, like you can defend it in theory, but most of the time it's just used in practice for people to kind of just project their own anger onto other people. I feel like, how do I put it? I feel like if you do something wrong, like no excuses if you like sexually assault someone. So I'm not going to discuss about like things that are actually illegal. But if you do things like, what are some things people get cancelled for? Oh, okay. I don't know if you actually follow, but there's this model online called Hannah, and she used to like have this very like baddie aesthetic, you know, like black, then like lots of eyeshadow and eyeliner. Then she just changed her whole style to make it seem more like Koreaboo, you know, like light skin, like very big cute eyes. So like nothing wrong with changing her aesthetic, right? A lot of people were bashing her because of that. Like apparently her boyfriend had sexted some minor. So they're like, oh, why are you dressing up more like a baby now? You're trying to appeal to your boyfriend. So I feel like if anything, her boyfriend should be at fault, right? Like she's just changing her aesthetic. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But people have been trying to cancel down, bring her down, make like just like accounts just to slander her, videos all about that. And it's just very disgusting, the kind of comments. They just comment about her looks, her mannerisms. And I don't know, it's just so disgusting to me that you have, it doesn't affect you personally, and it's not your battle to fight. And you're not gonna, you know, make the world better by leaving one mean comment on an Instagram model's page.
Sure. Yeah, by and large, I agree with you. Like, it's kind of a byproduct of the world we live in, right? You just have to, you know, live with it and see how we can do the opposite, I guess, which is what you're doing. But yeah, I find it quite sad at times. That's why I wanted to ask your thoughts about it. I mean, the case for it, in theory, like you said, is good. You know, people can get caught out, things can move forward. It's the whole idea of ideas wins and everything. But in practice, like you said, it's just a whole mob mentality. Even on TikTok, I noticed that most people, correct me if I'm wrong, if this observation is not accurate, but I noticed that a lot of them don't necessarily create content on TikTok. They're just anonymous accounts.
Because they're anonymous,
Follow
right?
people.
So they can hide behind this whole shield of anonymity.
And they just bring random comments, right? Of course, I'm not nowhere close as my view is nowhere close to yours, but like
Oh, you post on TikTok? Can I check you out?
Oh, sure.
Just like let me know your
Sure.
username. Okay.
Appreciate the enthusiasm. That's how humble and nice of you. Yeah. Hopefully, I can put some of these, maybe, who knows, into a small snippet. But yeah, I do small videos actually. Today's the O levels results. So hopefully, I can give some encouragement to people. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wait. We come to the end. There's one. We have one final segment though. It's a surprise segment.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
what's it about?
10 questions. I'm going to ask you 10 questions on growth, social media, mental health. Then you can just answer them.
Okay.
That's okay.
So is it like a rapid fire round?
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like I'm on like the National Science Challenge.
If it helps you. So the first question is, what is one thing you're proud of yourself for?
Just honestly very proud of myself for picking myself up after like every obstacle, after every time. I just think that I just can't go on anymore. And I'll just pick myself up.
What is one of the best advices you have ever received?
Advices is to, just have faith. Yeah. Whether you're religious or not, just know that there are some things that are ultimately beyond your control, and you can only change the things that you are in control of.
Advice you would give to your 15-year-old self?
Oh, 15. That everything will really be okay. Everything will turn out okay.
What do you strive to base your self-worth on?
Actually, two things: how I treat myself and the kind of relationships I have with other people. So the kind of relationships I have with my family, my friends. Yeah.
Okay. What is one thing you struggle with that others cannot see?
Oh, okay. I'm trying to be very transparent about it in my podcast. But I think a lot of it still ultimately comes down to like this whole definition of success. Like, am I successful enough? Am I successful enough according to other people's standards? Am I successful enough for myself?
Why do you go the extra mile to support others?
Why do I go the extra mile to support others? Because my whole like basic identity, like who am I as a person, like my purpose is really just to serve God. And one of the best ways I can go about doing it is to serve other people. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm reaching, but I hope that like the kind of influence I have when it comes to the internet might actually be a gift from him to kind of help other people more. So I want to make the most out of that, and I want to use it in a beneficial way, in a way that's fulfilling for me and for other people. Yeah. Okay.
It's nice. What do you love most about social media?
What I love most is the people, like how easily I can just talk to people, how easily people can talk to me. This whole communication aspect, Yeah. I don't want to feel like distance from my followers. I don't want them to feel like I am this distant, detached figure online.
What do you dislike most?
The whole element of comparison and how you can't be truly authentic online, which technically can be a good thing, but how it just completely warps your whole reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want people to put you on a pedestal?
No.
Why not though?
Why not? Because I feel like when you put people on a pedestal, you kind of treat them as something more than a human being. And it might kind of, how do I put it? Like, when you're younger and you put your parents on a pedestal, you think they're all-knowing, they know everything. So when they mess up, it just kind of shatters your whole reality. Like, oh my gosh, this person I idolize, she makes mistakes just like me. Yeah.
It's the last message, right? Last question. What is the last message you want to share with your listeners, your viewers, your followers?
Oh, really? Just, being a kind person is free. And it's not just free, but it reaps returns for yourself, for the people around you, for yourself, for your friends. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you so much for this time you spent about 1 hour with me. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot from you. I'm very inspired by your heart for other people.
Thank you. Also, I could say the same about you.
Thank you for that. Yeah. We've come to the end of this podcast, right? Of course, for sure, follow Brooke on the socials, on Instagram, TikTok, she's a Telegram channel as well. Check it out. And of course, you can follow Rebound with Resilience on Insta, Spotify, YouTube. I'll just link it up if you wanna just go on TikTok also and create some minor stuff there. Okay, yeah, all the best to you all. I love you all and I appreciate you all. Stay resilient and we'll see you next time. Bye.